Hey guys, it's Kevin Murray for the series premiere of Humans, simply just called Episode 1. I know that for if you are in the UK, this actually aired 4 weeks ago, but actually, no, 3 weeks ago. But I told myself that, you know what, I'm going to wait till it comes on to AMC, and I finally watched it. And I was going to review True Detective, but here's the thing, guys, I watched 20 minutes of it. I'm just done with that show. It's boring, it's not good. Maybe it'll get better next season, but for this season at least, I am so done with it. So this show, however, oh my god, this was amazing. I love this show. Seriously, I love this show. I love what it has to say about human intelligence and just humans in general. And the concept is so interesting. I love it, and this has the potential to become probably one of my favorite shows, not only this summer but on TV. Honestly, and I'm very happy that AMC is putting the show on for Americans. You know, I can understand that BBC America doesn't want to do every show. I can totally understand that. But I think it was the perfect network to put it on, honestly. Let's just talk about this show because I really do want to get into it. It's a fantastic show, and there were three stories. Basically, the show is compiled of three stories, so I'm going to go plot by plot, talk about each story, because they're three very separate stories. They all have to do with these things called synths, but we are going to talk about them, and I'm going to go in order of the one that I think is most relevant to the one that I think is not as important. So let's first get to how the episode starts. We see basically that in the dusky light of a high-tech factory, there are these rows of human-looking robots. They're all lined up, and they basically look up at the sky, and we don't really know what their purpose is yet, but right away we are intimidated by them. Like, the second you see them, they're very off-putting, they're very intimidating, and I thought that was definitely very well done. So we meet this character, Joe Hawkins. He's really busy, and he's a bit fed up with doing the vacuuming because his wife, Laura, is always away on a work trip, and he pretty much is like the dad at home. You know, he's got kids to take care of, and he's just really tired of doing everything. So he goes shopping and decides to treat himself to this new synth, which basically, as I said, are these human-looking robots, which I thought were really interesting. So he goes with his daughter, Sophie, and the one thing that his daughter's hoping is that she looks good and she's actually gorgeous, and the salesman says it's the best thing that he will do for his family, and eager to seal the deal plus 30 days return, no questions asked, and basically he takes her home. So basically, we see this new sin. She has perfected the knack of staring just a bit too long, and basically she's unzipped from this plastic wrap, and she's ready for action. Joe even trusts her to even drive home, and you can see that these things are even smarter than humans. I mean, they know pretty much everything. I thought that was definitely very interesting. So Joe takes it home, and he tells his kids right away, you know, to not mess with it, and that she knows what, you know, that they know what they're doing, and basically says that she's expensive. And you can see that his teenage son, Toby, couldn't give two shits. You know, he doesn't care at all. And definitely something I like is the interaction with the kids in the show. It's something that actually is very interesting. I definitely really do like that. Now, we find out that these synths are everywhere. They're not handling, you know, basically, if you're not handing out free newspapers, they're picking up litter. I mean, pretty much everyone has one, which I think is really interesting. They're pretty much a household name, and if you don't have one, then you're not, you know, official. You don't actually, you know, you're not modern enough, and basically it's something that everybody wants and everyone has, which I thought are really interesting, and we basically follow those stories. But basically, back to this story, Laura comes home, she's back from her job, and she knows something's not right because she sees the shoes are all lined up in the hall, and this is a household that things are like always a mess, there's always chaos, and things are just too calm. You know, the house is spotless, and she sees the synth waiting, cleaning products in hand, and you can tell right away that Laura's not happy. You know, she's saying that it's not right, and I understand Laura's point here. You know, she's very worried about the kids and saying that this, you know, synth is going to mess with their heads and it's going to be a horrible idea, and that, you know, not that she's got a leg to stand on. She's been away for 5 whole days, and the place was bound to fall apart if her husband didn't shell out 20 grand for her help. So basically she figures, you know what, we might as well use her because there's not a reason why not. So basically their daughter Sophie names her Anita, and basically we follow Anita's storyline. Now, Anita, we see, though, she starts to become very involved with this family. Very involved, maybe even too involved, because she basically becomes the highest level of power. It all starts with being the person who pushes, basically, she has prepared this very big breakfast for them and everything. They all sit down to breakfast, and Joe makes a joke saying that if I know you'd be joining us for breakfast, I have ordered some microchips, and she starts laughing uncontrollably. We realize that she can't stop laughing until she does on demand, and it's actually very creepy. She just keeps laughing and laughing and laughing. It's like a little child when they don't really know what to do. She doesn't know how to stop laughing. So basically, Laura has to get her to stop laughing, and it's a really creepy scene because that there's definitely something up with Anita, which definitely they did this very well done. So she's a lot of use, but she's always lurking in the background, making Laura feel really just out of place. You can definitely tell that Laura feels very out of place. There's something really annoying about her as well. You can definitely tell there's more to Anita. I don't know if she's there to replace Laura, but it definitely seems like that's kind of what her mission is, because no one can quite really put their finger on what exactly it is. I mean, there are different situations that they get involved in. Um, I just thought this was really interesting. Joe has this really great conversation with basically with Laura, and says that he didn't buy Anita to replace her, but to get her back. That's really why he did it. So that way they could be a family again and get back on track and things like that. And I thought that was definitely very well done. So we definitely see though that definitely Sophie is getting very close with Anita. While the other kids don't really care, Sophie, their youngest, is definitely getting closer with her. And she saw her as a rival because it seems that Sophie even prefers Anita over her real mother. There's this great scene where Anita's reading to Sophie, and basically Laura comes in, and Anita pretty much is reading with Sophie, and Sophie says that she likes Anita more, and that Anita's, a better mother to her, and I thought that was really interesting. And we also see, it gets really creepy because Laura sees Anita staring into Sophie's room, checking up on Sophie every night like a mother would. And Laura finds this very disturbing, and Anita just keeps on doing this. So definitely you can see that, I don't know if it's Anita's job, but she definitely is trying to replace Laura. I think Anita knows what she's doing. I'm not really sure, but I definitely feel like one of her missions is to replace Laura. That definitely is something that's going on. So later, we see that Anita displays some human behavior. She asks Maddie why Maddie wanted to harm her, because basically Maddie goes after Anita. She doesn't really want Anita there, and she actually tries to shoot her at close range in her bedroom, which I thought was really interesting when she did that. And definitely that was a very interesting scene. I didn't think that Maddie would do that, but you can definitely see that Maddie doesn't want anything to do with Anita, and it's understandable why. I actually really like this scene because basically, Joe and Laura go to confront Maddie. Her grades are slipping, but her grades are really bad. They're really slipping. She doesn't really seem to care much about her schoolwork. But I really like what Maddie says, that she doesn't really see a point in studying to become a doctor because they'll just make a synth into a brain surgeon anyway. So she really doesn't see a point to do that. And I really liked about the show. I mean, since these synths are there, people are starting to lose motivation. I thought that was really well done the way they did that. It really does show what actually is going on and the real problem that this is having on them. And I thought that was definitely very interesting, and I really did love that, I have to say. Definitely they did that in a very good way. So, definitely, that was a very well done scene. I really did love it. And basically, while Anita does the laundry, she ends up staring at this picture of Laura holding Sophie as a baby. And when she does so, she begins to have flashbacks to remembering when she was holding someone underwater in a river. So that's really weird. My thinking is that this is not Anita's first life, that she's had other previous lives, which I will talk about in a subplot. Definitely that shows right there. And while Laura and Anita are cooking dinner, they're talking and everything. Sophie comes bursting in. She wants to give Anita a kiss goodnight, and Anita causes Laura to get burned with the pan that she just removed from the oven so that Sophie wouldn't get hurt. So definitely you can tell, I think Anita has good intentions. I don't think Anita's trying to do something wrong, but she just is very attached to Sophie, and I don't know if her message is to protect Sophie, if, her like mission is to protect Sophie or whatever. I don't know. But definitely I feel like that's what she's trying to do at this point. She prefers Sophie over everyone else, which is really interesting, definitely. So that I really enjoyed, I have to say. So then the final scene we see of Anita and, Anita's storyline tonight is that Laura and, Joe are in bed, they're trying to sleep and everything. And they hear all this noise, and they're not sure if it's a burglar or what's really going on outside. And Laura becomes even more disturbed because Anita is just staring up at the sky outside, and we don't really know why. And she's trying to get Anita to go back inside the house. and Anita asks her about the moon that night. And basically, after they go to bed, they pretty much think that everything's good. But Anita then goes into Sophie's room, and she again has this flashback that she had been in a car accident before. So because of this, she takes Sophie into her arms, kisses her, and walks out with Sophie out the door and into the street, and that's basically how Anita's storyline ends. So, again, I don't think Anita's doing something wrong. I just think that, she has good intentions, but definitely she is trying to replace Laura, and I don't think she realizes what she's actually doing. So, definitely we're going to find out more about her, but that's such a compelling storyline. I absolutely love Anita's storyline. It's so well done, and I think they're handling it perfectly. Honestly, it's a great storyline, and it's very realistically portrayed as well. Definitely, I really love that, and I think it was the perfect way to end it. And also, they show this great final scene where we have, this very intelligent scientist talking about humans and how they don't really matter and how synths kind of matter more. And I thought that was really interesting the way they did that, and I definitely really love it about the show. So let's get to the next storyline. Our other storyline involves this character, Leo. Leo basically this storyline I thought was even more compelling because basically we go to this campsite and it takes place 5 weeks ago. It's a flashback here. And Leo and his synths, we have Niska, Max, Fred, and a synth named Mia, who pretty much is probably Anita's past life, which we definitely are going to find out more about. She has this very special bond with Leo. In fact, it even seemed like maybe they had some sort of a relationship even. I thought that was kind of interesting that we saw that. So they're walking through the woods with, Leo, who is just this very mysterious character. I love how mysterious his character is, and you don't really know what's going on with this character, but basically, Fred, Mia, and Niska are stolen from him, and basically they're kidnapped. We don't know why. So this leads him and Max, the only one left, to try and track them down to get them back. And this I thought was really interesting because they're definitely very different from other synths because Max is really not, like, robotic. The other ones are very robotic. Max, however, displays a lot more human emotion and intelligence. So definitely Max is programmed very differently than the other synths are. And we don't really know why, but that I thought was really interesting that we found that out because that just makes us more intrigued in the Max storyline. Definitely, I really think Max's storyline is very interesting. So we don't get too much with Max's storyline tonight. We do, however, see that elsewhere, a man arrives home basically to find, basically we see Leo realizes that something was wrong after Fred didn't meet them at the rendezvous point. Now, it turned out that Hobb, who was intent on finding and dissecting synths who displayed human-like emotions and intelligence, had discovered that Fred had reached out to Leo and basically had him shut down, which I thought was really interesting. So Fred has been shut down, and we don't know why he's been shut down, but definitely he has. And this causes Leo to visit Nishka at the brothel where she was at. Now, Niska is now in this, like, kind of like pornography, sort of like bar world. I mean, definitely very exotic dancing. And basically tells her that she couldn't escape that night. And what she basically does is she holds him, basically she makes it seem like they had sex. So they literally just have sex right in that brothel. And that's how that storyline ended. And I can understand if people don't like that storyline, but basically, I thought that was definitely very well done, the way they did that, definitely, because we see that he finds Simon, giving his girlfriend this intimate psychotherapy before carrying her off to the bath, and I just thought that whole thing was really interesting, definitely. So I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there and why exactly Fred was shut down. We don't really know, but definitely we now know that these people were taken to these other places, and where Mia/Anita went, we don't really know. And I definitely feel like whatever Anita taking Sophie, that is connected to that storyline, which I think is definitely very interesting. I'm very compelled by that storyline. It by far is one of, all the storylines are very compelling, but that's one of the ones where I'm just like, I can't wait to see what happens next there, because that was a really good cliffhanger. And then the other storyline we get, now this was very sentimental. I really love this story. It's a very touching story. The other storyline focuses on this character, Dr. George Millikan, who basically, he has had the same synth, Odie, for about 6 years now, and Odie really is not doing well at all. He's malfunctioning constantly. He doesn't really obey him very much, he's kind of just old. He should be thrown in the trash. And he's visited by this caseworker who wanted him to upgrade to this newer model that could help him out more because Odie isn't going to do him any good. And I thought that was really interesting that we saw. However, Odie and George have really formed this like father-son bond, and he really doesn't want to get rid of him. It's kind of like if a father were to get rid of his son, he'd never want to do that. So just like that, George doesn't want to get rid of Odie, and I really love this storyline because basically we see that there's this old model and he's defective already, and this was basically, we see this scene in the supermarket. It's very hard to watch. He ends up attacking one of the supermarket's employees, and it leads the authorities telling him to discard of Odie and get rid of him, and he was about to smash his head in as it seemed like Odie's memory was defective. Basically stopped after Odie began to remember things about George's late wife, and we find out that the reason George wants to keep Odie so much is because he wants to keep those memories of his late wife who has died, and that's basically the only way he can keep the memories of her. And that's basically how that storyline ended. I thought it was a really sweet way to end that storyline. But George is really in this big predicament here because he needs to decide what he really wants to do, that if he wants to get rid of Odie, if he wants to keep him. I mean, he really is in this really interesting position here with what he wants to do. And George, I think, is a character you feel the worst for because, I mean, he's just stuck with this synth that you know he doesn't want to get rid of, but he pretty much just has to because this synth is just going to keep malfunctioning. It's only going to get worse and worse from now on, and definitely he needs to get rid of it, but he's not going to, and it's really sad to see. And wow, I love this show. Seriously, I love everything about this show. This was such an amazing premiere. There was not one scene in this episode that I didn't like. I loved everything about this premiere, honestly. I think all the acting is made. Let's get to the acting in the show. Colin Morgan is Leo. I love how mysterious his character is. We don't really know what he's trying to track down. Definitely he's trying to track down all the other synths. I don't really know what's going to happen here, but his storyline I find very compelling, and I can't wait to see what happens with Leo. Especially his connection to Anita. That's going to be very interesting as well. Gemma Chan as Anita is just amazing. She has a very specific role because she has to act like this synth, and she does a fantastic job with that. And definitely, she sees Sophie for a reason. I mean, what she's doing with Sophie, she's doing this for a reason. We don't really know what that reason is, but that definitely is going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening with Anita, why she took Sophie. We don't really know why now, but we're definitely going to find out. I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen with her story, definitely. Catherine Parkinson is Laura. I really love her character because, of course, she is jealous of Anita. Clearly, she's jealous of her. And now that she knows that Anita took her daughter, she's going to be even more pissed when she finds out. So I'm very interested in seeing how that whole fallout is going to be. Definitely, it's going to be very interesting. And Tom Goodman-Hill is Joe. I really like his character because the reason he's telling Laura that he's going to get rid of Anita. He's telling her that, okay, we'll get rid of Anita, but he's going to keep her around. And definitely you can see why he wants to keep Anita around because he wants his wife to be home more. He's tired of her working so much, and Anita can help him with that. He just didn't really know that Anita was going to replace her, and I thought that was really interesting. So I'm wondering if maybe Joe is going to get rid of her and get a new synth. I mean, but the way you see this is that synths aren't just synths. I mean, they have real human emotion. They think like humans. They talk like humans. They can walk and talk like we do. I mean, they have a mind of their own. It's clear they do, and definitely, Joe needs to understand that he can't just take her back. So that's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen there. William Hurt as George, I mean, his performance is just really sad because he wants to keep, Odie around so he can keep his wife around, but just, you can see that Odie is not doing very well. And Will Tudor does a great job as Odie, definitely. I think he definitely did a really great job in his performance. I really love their bond. It's just really sad that eventually he's going to have to let Odie go, and I don't think George realizes that now, but eventually he's going to have to let him go. Rebecca Front is Vera, basically the caretaker that's trying to get George to replace Odie with another synth. I mean, she's going to convince him eventually, definitely. I feel like this whole season is going to be her just convincing him, and I really do like her character. We don't know too much about her, but I definitely like where her character is going. The other characters are really good too. And also, Danny Webb is Hob. We don't really know what's going on with his character. All we know is that Hob disarmed Fred, and we don't know why he shut him down. So clearly, Hob has a mind of his own. He's not a synth, but he definitely, there's something with him as well. Definitely I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen with him. He's probably going to be main antagonist of the show since he shut down Fred. I'm pretty sure he's still out there and he can still shut down these synths, and I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there as well. And I also really like this story with Lucy Careless as Maddie. I really like the daughter Maddie, and Theo Stevenson as Toby is really good as well. Just, I could talk about everyone in the show. Everyone is amazing in the show. I love every single character, honestly. I think every character is fantastic in the show. And that's because of how good the the directors of the show are. The directing in the show, now this is based off of a Swedish science fiction drama, but they did a great job of capturing that here. I mean, the way this show talks about humans, the way this show shows human intelligence is just so interesting. I love the way they do that. Every storyline is so compelling, and I absolutely love that. The director, something I love is that they didn't make this show very creepy. It's not a very creepy show. You're not creeped out by these things. You just know they have a mind of their own and they think like humans. Yeah, the characters are creeped out, but we're not creeped out because we actually understand why they're doing what they're doing. Anita is doing what she's doing for a reason. I really do love that we're seeing this emotional impact, that the bond that these humans and synths have, and I think that definitely is very interesting. I'm definitely very interested in seeing what's going to happen there as well. I mean, each one of these storylines has some sort of relationship, whether it's Sophie and Anita, George and Odie, or Anita or Mia and Leo. We don't really know why, what the connection is between them, but definitely there's something that happened with Anita that I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen there as well. Cinematography in the show is just perfect, honestly. Some of the best parts of the show by far is the cinematography. The humans look fantastic. The synths look great. They look real. They look like you could actually buy these things, and that's something that a show should do like this. That's something I think is very well done, and I love that with this show. And it just proves that the UK does have better television than us, honestly. UK has amazing we have amazing television, but the UK knows how to do shows like this. Because if a show like this was done in the US, it really would not be done well. So I like that we didn't redo the show from the UK. We just basically the show's on AMC. And that's awesome that AMC is showing this show, because honestly, it's an awesome show. I love everything about the show. I can't wait to see what happens in the next episode. Such an awesome show with awesome cliffhangers. I can't wait to see what happens next. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Why did Anita take Sophie? What is the connection she has with that? Those memories that she's recounting. What is she recounting? Has she seen Sophie before? Has Anita maybe been with Sophie in a past life? Is there something more going on with there? What was her life like as Mia? Because that's really interesting as well. I'm definitely interested in what's going to happen there. Leo, why did, what happened with Leo, basically? What is the connection between Mia and Leo? Because that's very interesting as well. We definitely know that there's something up with Leo. We just don't really know what it is yet, and I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there. The whole storyline with Leo and Hob, why did Hob shut down Fred? Because that's something I want to know as well, is what is Hobbs' goal here? Because they're both very mysterious characters, and I like how mysterious their characters are, because you don't really understand why they're doing what they're doing, but they each have some sort of purpose, and I really do love how mysterious this show is. And then, of course, George, is he going to shut down Odie? Obviously, he's going to have to eventually. Also, do you think that Joe's going to replace Anita? When he finds Anita gone, obviously they're going to get Sophie back. That's something that definitely is going to happen. But is he going to replace Anita? Because, I mean, he did talk to Laura about possibly replacing Anita. So do you think he's actually going to do that? I'm not really sure. We'll have to see what happens there. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this episode. Overall, guys, I absolutely love this premiere. I cannot wait for the next 7 episodes. Yeah, there's only going to be 8 episodes, but I can't wait for them. I'm hooked on this show already. That's my review. Hope you guys enjoy. I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Penny Dreadful, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.